Day 24, isn't that pretty amazing? You just keep marching forward towards the end of the book. So, what should have already happened? Tentpole finished the action of the tentpole. There should have been it's part of the tentpole, but it's falling off of the tentpole where we're fleeing. That's usually about 10 pages. Then we usually reach relative safety, and then we have the angst phase where we realize just how badly the temple went. Many times we have lost the magician at this point, and life sucks, and the hero is very, very upset, hates life, and doesn't want to be a part of this. Many times he will try and separate off from the group, which is never a good idea. So now we are pivoting, and it's a pretty significant pivot. It may be something to do that the villain does, but we have to pick up the thread again, because we may have been working with some subplots before. But today, and you may do some subplot, I'm not saying it's out of the question today, but today we're really thinking about the climax because we're almost there. We're at 120 pages. The book is 200. We only have 80 pages more. And that is about how long the climax is, or the build up to the climax. For me, when I talk about the climax, I'm not talking about the action per se. I'm talking about the set piece, where we're at. So at this point, we need to gather forces, our troops. We need to be moving towards the climax. If the battlefield is far away, this may be a journey. We may be on the road right now. If it is nearby, it may be just trying to regroup and get everything together. If we're thinking aliens, this is when they think they're going to wait out the 17 days and try and get rescued, and so they are stockpiling and sealing and getting ready. That is the lead up and the build up to the climax. We are preparing. We're in the preparatory stages of getting ready for. Now they think they're going to get rescued, of course, but in the action set piece, they are setting up their set piece of where this is going to happen and kind of how it's going to happen, and setting up parameters by which the fight is going to happen. They think they've sealed everything off. The aliens find a way in. We know that they've sealed everything off. We kind of know the location very well because of this ramping up phase, so that the action makes sense. Much of what you're doing in the preparing for the climax is making sure the climax makes sense. If you need a seesaw to finish your climax, you better be bringing a seesaw, find a seesaw, be at a playground. You need to be making sure this makes sense right now. The villain may also be very active right now because he thinks he just won and he's pressing his advantage, which is of course always the villain's problem. Many times there is a detente amongst the team building, moving forward. The hero may have separated, but many times with the hero separating, the other players do kind of rally to their own team. I'm thinking dodgeball. Or they're still in a state of disarray because the hero is still with them, but kind of being pissy. So whatever you have planned, because there's, again, a way for each and every one of you millions of writers out there to write this phase. But we definitely are thinking climax. If you do not know what your climax is, I would really strongly recommend you spend a few minutes and think about that. Not hours, not days, but think about it. What do you need? What is going to happen? What is the big action piece? What's the coolness factor? And what do you need? Right now, this is a dish we're trying to serve, and we need to know the recipe at this point. Before, it was okay. Could be a little bit loosey-goosey, and you still don't have to know it right now. You can always write the climax and come back and see it later. But this is the point where you're beginning the climax. I know we're 60 pages away from that. We need to know where the set piece is. We need to know who the players are going to be. We kind of need to know what the props are going to be right now so that we have everything in place. Again, if you can't do that, if you're like, Carolyn, no way, I have no idea, I'm just going to have to find it and then come back and seed it. I do it all the time. I just made a major gaffe at the very ending of my book. Not a gaffe, actually. The ending of the book is correct, but now everything before it is wrong. So I'm going through and making sure that I am fixing all of those boo-boos that I made. Not boo-boos, I just didn't know. And it seems like my subconscious needs to take enough time to figure stuff out and then comes up with something cool that doesn't necessarily match the rest of the book. So then I just go ahead and figure that out together. Creativity is messy. I think that's today's topic, just the messiness of creativity and being okay with the messiness of creativity, that it just isn't perfect. It's non-linear. It's completely non-linear. It's just like dialogue. I'll think of things. There'll be jumps and steps. Like I just thought of an idea last night and it came almost fully formed, which is I love it when that happens, but it's the rarity. I usually just have really brief flashes of cool stuff and then nothing. Then I have to kind of put it together and then make a bunch of errors and then have to fix it later. So whatever your process is, and you may not even know your process if you're in your first book, just let it be messy. Let it be what it is. We're going to work on it. You're going to figure out what's important and what created you the most work in the editing phase. And then hopefully as time goes by, you're just going to fix those things, and it's going to become more and more natural to you to fix them as you're writing. And in the preparatory phase for your next book, you'll take into account, oh gosh, now I learned what a climax is. Now I learned how important it is. Now I learned what's going to happen. I think I maybe want to spend a little bit more time before I write the book figuring that out. Maybe you didn't know your Tentpole. You didn't know how your Tentpole and your climax related to one another. Those are all things that you really can't know until you write a book and see how it doesn't go properly to figure out what proper is. Okay, so today is thinking about the climax. You may be traveling to the climax. You may be physically preparing. You may be gathering troops. You may be trying to convince another king to help you commit his knights to your quest. I don't know what your story is, but whatever it is, we are now pretty convinced that we have another battle. This is horrible. The villain really has to be stopped. We're moving forward and getting ready for that. Have a fantastic writing day, and I will see you tomorrow.